All right, welcome back to another episode of the EventHubs podcast. This one obviously a little bit different than usual. We don't have Catalyst here because Catalyst doesn't play much Guilty Gear Strive. And today's segment is focused on just that. We're putting together a tier list. Instead, I have two of our Guilty Gear Strive experts here with me. You can't see them, but I assure you they're here. It's Nick MajinTenshinhan Taylor, all the way from Sweden. Say hi, Nick.
Hey guys, what's up? I don't know if I'm an expert, but I'll do my best.
Oh, well, the expectation is set. And then, of course, we have Dakota DakrHorse Hills. What's up, Dakota?
Hey, back to be good again. 2 weeks in a row, keep the streak going. And I don't know if I'd consider myself an expert yet either, but
you guys,
I've been
we gotta
playing and watching
present
quite a bit, so I've been trying to keep up with what's going on.
All right, I'm here with my two non-experts, but they have total authority here. And by the way, I am an expert, and the only reason I'm not doing this by myself is because it'd be boring to just have the objectively true truth out there for everybody, and there's no more reason to explore. So we're having slightly less than experts telling us how the order of the Guilty Gear Strive initial roster is going here, and we're a week and a few days, a week and a half out since the game actually launched. Is that right?
It's about 3 weeks actually at this point.
Yeah, exactly. Experts. So, like I said, we don't have a ton of time here. Both of these guys have given me their respective tier lists, which are relatively close, but there are some differences. So we're going to go through the whole thing and give a few notes on characters. Some we'll talk more on. The others, that especially ones that they disagree about, we will talk a little bit more on. But hey, we're going to give you the Guilty Gear Strive initial roster tiers here. We're starting with the conclusively worst character in the game, and that, of course, is Faust. Nick, tell me what you think about Faust.
I don't think it's a controversial opinion. I think if you look around the tier list on the internet, you're going to find the same opinion pretty much everywhere. The problem with Faust in this game is he doesn't really get the stuff that other characters do, and classically Faust has been a character who can throw out items and they'll do wacky effects and everything, and that's still here, but it feels like the items are much more likely to hamstring him instead of the opponent than they were in previous games.
Well, that sucks. Is there like a quick example you can give of that?
Well, there's the horn for one.
Yeah, the horn is definitely a good example on that.
So yeah, if Faust tosses out the horn, it lands on the ground, and whoever picks it up, an army of mini Faust comes and charges the stage against the other person. So if he throws it and say the other chip player picks it up, then the mini Faust will charge a Faust instead.
He's always seemed like very intriguing and very different, but sometimes it feels like he's just trying too hard, and he's the kid at high school that's like, you're doing that not because you believe it, but because you're just trying for attention, and it's kind of getting old, right?
I guess I get what you mean, but at the same time, trying too hard gave him results in the past. He was a very good character in Xrd. He's been a good character in past titles. Right now, he does not look very strong here. Things could change, I guess, but I really don't see a scenario where he isn't the worst character in the current version of the game.
Yeah, when you want a good item character in a fighting game, you want them to be annoying, but you don't want them to be overly oppressive. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure where you would put her in Skullgirl's tier list, but I mean, I always kind of despise fighting against Peacock in that game, and you're supposed to be a little ticked off whenever you're seeing items fall down all around you. But with Faust, whenever he tosses something out, you just kind of shrug. It's just like, okay, that's there, I guess. Because everything either doesn't really do a whole lot, or it takes too long or too many steps to actually set up, like the Afro or the Mini Faust.
Yeah.
So the random factor is very scary because you don't want that dominating your game. But it's also like, well, if we overcorrect on the other direction, then it's just super lame and doesn't have much effect at all, huh?
Yeah, and that's kind of how Faust feels right now.
All right, so Faust, booty butt cheeks. Is there anyone down in this category with him, in the D tier, or is he in his own tier?
I would put him in his own tier, personally.
All right. Dakota, who do you have as the next lowest character in the game?
For my list, I had Mr. Pretty Boy Anji Mito.
Anji Mito. Nick, what do you think about that?
I kind of agree. I had him as third worst, but I don't think he's particularly good. His Fujin doesn't really do the stuff it used to. It used to have invulnerability. Now it has like auto guard stuff. I mean, it did have those type of things as well before. But like for his follow-ups, you can either stop them on their way out or you can punish them on block. So it ends up being a mix-up where none of the options are particularly scary, at least to me. Like his setups aren't very scary because he needs to give up a lot to get the butterfly out and stuff. Yeah, I don't know. Like, when I watch footage or even when I play myself, I don't really feel scared of Anji at any point.
Don't play yourself too often. Dakota, do you have anything to add on to that about Angie?
Yeah, I feel like when he gets going or when he makes the right read, he can do some really, big damage. But
That's true
he's
of
just
everybody in this game, isn't it?
Yeah.
yes,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, he's just very kind of straightforward, even in his mix-ups, and it kind of feels like I don't have enough experience to really say against Anji players, but it just really kind of feels like you could probably just easily kind of fuzzy guard his low-high mix-up after the Fujin, which is, kind of one of his big things. And so if you do that, then he's just kind of like, oh, well, guess I'll just die.
All right. Well, next on the list is a character that I was really hoping for. I saw this character first revealed, as we all did a while back now. Brand new character for the series, and I was like, that looks really cool. It's a samurai vampire, but unfortunately, it doesn't sound like he's all that great. Tell me about, is it Nagoriyuki? Did I say that right?
Yes, Nagoriyuki.
Right on.
I mean, the thing about the character is he hits like absurdly hard, even for this game. Does a lot of damage. He has very limited movement, similar to Potemkin. He doesn't have air dashes or anything like that. And when he cancels his moves, he builds a blood gauge. And you want to reduce the blood gauge by landing your command grab. But if you don't do that on offense, you're probably going to go into blood rage, which hurts yourself a lot. Like your life bar goes down so much. And if your opponent finds an opening at the same time that gets activated, you're dead. Like, there's no chance.
It's pretty all or nothing.
Kind of, yeah. Some people have described him as like a Sam Show character in Guilty Gear. I can see where they're coming from, even though I don't entirely agree. He is a character that's very divisive. A lot of people put him very high up. I think he's a character, like when I look here, when I put him as low down as I did, I was thinking of the future. Like looking right now, Nagoriyuki seems stronger than I think he will end up being. And that's why I put him lower. Because...
Gimmicks.
Yes, exactly. I think once people are used to his range, used to his various moves, and they can efficiently like stop him from landing the blood-sucking command grab, then it's going to be very difficult for Nagoriyuki players to get anything going.
Dakota?
Yeah, I mostly agree with a lot of that. I feel like, yeah, for him to really survive right now, players have had to adapt to kind of survive and play without specials in a lot of cases. And that's kind of working because of just his range and damage are, nuts like everybody else. But at the end of the day, yeah, when somebody can just lab all of those normals, see what they can do, see how negative they are, then, I mean, he just kind of dies.
Well, GG's to Nagoriyuki. I thought he was going to be awesome as a vampire samurai, but apparently not so much. That makes me sad.
He's still cool.
This next character, yeah, well, for sure. Still cool. Still gets to sit at the cool kids table. This next character is where I think you guys have your biggest disagreement on the tier list. So, this is where Nick would put Potemkin, but Dakota, you think he's a little bit better. Dakota, give us your case for why Potemkin is a little bit better than Cheek's tier.
So I'm looking at this tier list kind of in a different way than Nick, I guess, because I'm viewing it like where the game is at like right now. And just from what I've played, what I've been seeing and stuff, it just feels like, Potemkin, he grabs you 2 or 3 times, you're dead. And just the Kara Mega Fist back forward, it's he had a bit nutty at times, but he's also hampered a bit where he has a lot of like almost invisible mix-ups and things, but obviously he needs to burn meter to do that. And so he's seems to be a very meter reliant character, which he's not going to have all the time. So if you can kind of just keep him out or keep him away once he gets meter, then there's not a ton he can do, but like everything he does is still just pretty darn good overall for a grappler, and his command grabs are ridiculously powerful. His Heavenly Potemkin Buster is, well, the animation and stuff is godlike, but
Really satisfying to nail.
yeah, and
Definitely.
even when you get hit by it, you're like okay, that's okay. At least I can look at it.
So Nick, why is Potemkin not as good as Dakota thinks?
I think that the reason I have Potemkin as low as I do is because it's true. He will kill you in like 2 to 3 command grabs, even from hits. Like, he has some decent bonus, but I don't feel like Potemkin is a threat unless he's close to you, and he doesn't have the movement. And then you have to look at, okay, so who are the good characters in the game? And I'm not going to spoil our placements, but we are eventually going to get to characters like Axel and Ramlethal. And they're long-range fighters, or at least mid-range fighters, so they fight at a range where Potemkin is not comfortable, and they're good at keeping him at that range where he's not comfortable. And if you have bad matchups against commonly picked top-tier characters, or high-tier characters, or whatever may have you, you're probably not good.
Okay, let me ask you this then. Let's pivot for a second. Keep Potemkin. We're figuring out a spot for you, but Millia, right? Okay, now Nick, you have her one spot above Potemkin, and Dakota has her one spot below Potemkin. Can we agree on where she might go in relation to him?
I don't know. Like, I feel like she's a character I might have too low as it is. Because I will be completely honest, I might have fallen for the Leffen propaganda. Because, Leffen is really downplaying Millia a lot. But I think the problem with Millia is basically the opposite of what Potemkin has, which is she needs to hit you a lot of times to actually get it going. And she needs to do the mix-up and everything. And she's pretty good at doing that mix-up. But on the flip side, like, if other characters need to hit you twice, and she needs to hit you maybe 5 times, you're probably not a good character. Like, I could be wrong.
I mean, the math at the end of it, there's more to it than just the math like that.
Of course.
But that is something to take into account.
Yes, I think Millia definitely has potential to go higher than I see her right now. But based on what I've seen, I don't see her mix-ups being as scary as they've been in the past. And she doesn't, like, she can do high damage. Absolutely, everyone can do high damage. But her most typical situations don't lead to damage that is that high, even if she's right, from my experience. So with room for error, like, blow me up in 2 months, but I think she's kind of not great.
Dakota, is
Yeah.
there a timeline or where Millia is actually better than Potemkin?
Yeah, I think so. Like they're close. If we were doing like kind of pluses, I'd maybe put them kind of both in like a B plus almost. But I do feel like right now, at least, whenever you're playing against or watching Millia, you're like, oh wow, she's working so much harder than the other person. It's like, if I'm just there as Ramlethal, like, okay, I'm just swinging my swords and going nuts, and she's having to do, pretty much everything she can to get in and then keep the momentum going.
All right, so is this acceptable so far? There will be more action here between B and C, but so far, are we okay generally with how this looks?
Yeah.
Oh, and I'm sorry, you guys, yeah.
Yeah, but I remember what you've said, so yeah, I would say so.
Right. Okay, Kai. Next one up, Kai. We've got Millia and Potemkin in B tier. We've got Nagoriyuki and Angie in C tier. Where does Kai rank in between those 4?
I have him above all of them, right? But I could see him being below Millia, but not really below the others. And a large reason for that is the player named Dragoy. He's a Spanish player, an absolute legend at Grand Blue Fancy Versus, one of the best in Europe. And he's been playing Strive. And I was commentating a tournament this last weekend, and he won it. And he really if we had done this series before that event, I would probably have Kai 2 spots lower or something. But looking at him, he does have the sauce. The problem with him is that his fireball is very bad. It's terrible, and he is inconsistent in certain situations. Like there's stuff. He is a character that needs tweaks, because he can be frustrating to play. Obviously, he has things that just aren't quite working the way they're probably intended to, and he doesn't have amazing like mix-ups. But still, if he gets the hit, he can do it. Like, and the shock state does help quite a bit, which is like a debuff he puts on you, enhancing his further moves on block and hit. I think he's a decent character, but I can't see him being better than decent.
Dakota, tell me about Kai real quick.
So I guess you could technically call me a Kai main for like the little amount of time that I played Exart and Accent Core, and going into this game, like Nick was kind of saying, like I just kind of felt like he was just kind of missing that extra oomph, that extra juice to really take him up a notch, and it just feels like a lot of times he's just a little bit lacking in his conversions and what he can do off landing a standing slash or whatever. And like, yeah, his fireball is not great. It's kind of sucks that the dust powered up fireball's gone and things like that. But yeah, I think if you adjust him by a handful of ways, give him some more easy conversions, he could probably easily jump up.
Would you say he has a case to be better than Potemkin?
Yeah, yeah, I'd say so. I just feel like now, like just now, we're starting to see some people really start to crank it up with Kai. So I think he can only go up from here.
Okay. So maybe a little potential to go higher than where you have him initially here. All right. Dakota, tell me about Eno.
So I kind of mained Eno in the second open beta and for about half of my review process, and she is good, but she has faults. And a lot of her game is, kind of just based around high-low. She knocks you down, sends out her musical note, and then you have to guess whether she's going to do the instant air dash overhead or she's going to hit you low and keep it going. And sometimes it can just be kind of hard to get to that point, even with stroking the big tree, which will, catch everybody at least a few times because
Can you say that slower one more time? What's that move called?
stroking the big tree.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Appreciate it. Go ahead.
Yeah, her dive kick moves are really good at first, but I mean, as people have been figuring them out, they're not quite as good. So I think she's just a bit on the lower side right now, but I could see her going up depending on how things shake out from here.
Nick, could Eno be one spot below Millia? Is that acceptable?
I could see that. The main problem with Eno that I've heard from speaking to friends who played her and like watching the footage is that she's polarizing. She has matchups where she destroys and she has matchups where she gets destroyed, which makes her one of the hardest characters to place. But yeah, below Millia, sure. I could see her be slightly below Millia, even though I didn't really put her there myself. I do think Millia has potential for growth more so than Eno.
The other newcomer for the to the franchise for Strive is Giovanna. She looked really cool when she was first introduced and such, but it seems like she just hasn't had a ton of flair and excitement thereafter. Maybe I'm totally wrong, but also no, I'm not. Nick, tell me about Giovanna.
I agree, but even at her reveal, I didn't think she was that interesting, honestly. And looking at her gameplay, she feels like Catalyst's favorite character, Cammy, in a lot of ways. People even call her move the Spiral Arrow, but not quite as good at it as Cammy would be in Street Fighter V, you know? So, I don't know. She's not bad, but I'm just not very impressed with her. Like, in a game filled with the Titans, she feels more like a demigod, and it's kind of like,
Now, Dakota, you have her a little bit higher up. Why do you have her higher up? Convince me. I'll put her in A tier if you can convince me.
Well, I don't know, a lot of what I've been seeing that kind of made my mind up with that was just kind of what I've been seeing with tech being shared around on Twitter and stuff, and just from what I've been seeing in some tournaments, and like, okay, her frame data is actually really, really good for the most part, and she can keep somebody locked down for, what can feel like an eternity when she plays right. But she doesn't have a ton of different options in what she can do, so she can feel a little bit linear in times, but then when she kind of goes nuts, it's like, oh, okay, so this is what the character can do. And so I have her up there right now. I maybe after talking about this, I might move her down a bit, but uh, yeah, I think I don't know. Like a lot of this just depends on where people lab from here, but she's looking pretty oppressive at times.
Right. Well, then another character that's very close to this is Zato slash Eddie. Right? Do I have that right?
Yeah.
Now, Nick has her. Nick has him above Giovanna. Dakota has him slightly below Giovanna. So, Nick, tell me about Eddie.
That pretty hair is mixing you up, huh? Yeah, so Sato classically is a very difficult character, and it's going to take time to figure him out. Just for context, like Sato himself works like a normal character, but he's also a puppet character. He uses a demon, Eddie, and Eddie is invoked via negative edge. So you're basically controlling two characters at the same time by when you press buttons and when you release buttons. Obviously, that's fairly complex. And the character's going to take... He's revamped greatly, right? You can't just do the same routes you used to do in the previous games. But the complexity is still there. So I think he is the character I see with the most room to grow out of anyone in the cast right now. And based on what I've seen people find so far, I feel like he's quite oppressive. And for me, he was right outside of top 5. But if in 2 months' time, if people start placing him like number 1, I wouldn't even be that surprised. Like, he's definitely a character that can go up, but I haven't seen it yet. But I'm leaving the possibility open simply because he's such a complex character. He's going to take time. And, these setups that he does they're just nasty. Like, they were talking about eliminating this, unbelievable Oki, which you can't escape, and like, oh, it's no fun for beginners. Sato's not going to be fun for any beginner. Like, anyone who goes online and meets a good Sato is going to get destroyed.
Dakota, do you have anything to add on to that?
I mean, yeah, no, like if you asked me to do like a beta 1 or beta 2 tier list, I'd probably have Zato down in like the B tier category, but I ended up putting him in A because yeah, just since the game came out and just everything we're seeing what he can do, it's just nuts. It looks awesome. It kills you quite quickly, but man,
and it's super technical.
He's a really cool character, even though I generally despise puppet characters, but he's really good, he's really cool, and he's probably just gonna go up from here.
All right, you guys figure it out between yourselves. Does Leo go 1 above or 1 below Zato? Or yeah.
I would personally put him below. But I don't know if there's a case to convince you of that, Dakota.
I could get on board with that.
Leo is a character that shines in this game. Because this game, like, regardless of if you like it or dislike it, I think everyone can admit this is very much a guerrilla game. Right? Like, it's very oppressive, it's a very hardcore offense, and that's exactly what Leo was already. So, Leo is a perfect fit for Strive, and you can very much see that, and even though he's different than what he was in Xrd, he still retains some of that stuff, and he definitely retains that type of playstyle that he already had. Add to that his Fireball is, like, just a million times better than Kai's. I think it's very easy to make Leo look impressive now. Once people have labbed, I don't think he's going to go down that much, but it's going to be a bit more manageable, more controllable. But right now, like, he's reaping the rewards, and I don't think... As I said, I'm looking at the patch overall, not like this second, and that's why I have Sato above him. That's kind of my reasoning for that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I feel like Leo is probably the most volatile character on the cast, and yeah, pretty much what Nick was saying. I feel like as things progress, he'll probably go down a little bit, but I don't know if he'll drop from A to B tier or anything like that. But it's just, yeah, he has a great fireball, he has a flash kick, he has a dive kick, he has his run through mix ups, he'll dunk you into the earth, and you just have to sit there and try to guess right because he's just going to beat his chest and stomp on your grave.
Yeah.
Is he a good character for people that are new and want to just jump in and start seeing some really fun, cool stuff happening?
Yes.
That's what it sounds like. So if you don't feel like playing Street Fighter V and that's the experience you want to have, I'm just kidding. Street Fighter V has changed substantially since it was just that. But yeah, as you guys are talking about it, I'm just thinking Necalli all day. Gorilla, dive kick, all this kind of stuff. Now, all right, so I want to do something a little bit different here. You guys have the exact same top 4.
Yes.
So I'm going to just put that up here now. And that's, of course, and correct me if I'm wrong, Soul, and then Chip, like this, Soul, and then Chip, and then Ram,
Yep.
Ram,
Ram.
and then May,
Yes.
who is super annoying.
Yes.
You guys both agree with that, though, that Soul, Chip, Ram, May.
Yes, I do.
Yep.
Now,
You forgot
Axel.
a character. Oh, okay, good.
Yes. I did not forget.
Okay, my
Nick.
bad.
Trust
I'm
my
sorry.
hosting
I'm
powers
sorry.
a little bit. God.
I'm sorry.
Have some
I
faith.
bow down to your Lord Rafter.
Oh, good. Hey, look, that's a different game. Axel, not Rose. You guys have a little bit of differing opinions here. One of you guys has him 5th. The other one has him 8th. 5, 6, 7, 8. Yes. So you guys are gonna need to figure out where the heck to put Axel.
Yeah.
I want to hear your arguments, and I want to start with Dakota.
Well, Axel was kind of a hard place for me. He's probably the character I've seen and played against the least of. But what I have been seeing over the past like week and a half is pretty some pretty scary stuff. And it's just everybody getting hit by that command grab right now. The full screen command grab. And he's really good, but I don't know just how good he is. So I put him in A for now, but I just didn't exactly know where to go with that.
So A with the potential to move up, or the potential to move down more.
I think both. Like he's probably one of the most underutilized characters right now, and so probably one of the most underdeveloped. But he's developing really, really quickly, it seems. So we should be seeing quite soon.
All right, Nick. I know that you have something to say about Axel.
Of course. Axel, my favorite character in Guilty Gear alongside Chip, just so you know. Elfoot in a clean third. I played Axel in the previous beta, and I think he's a decently well-designed character. What it comes down to with him is that he is probably the only pure zoning type character in this game, because Ram is kind of in your face, even though she can like stuff you up mid-range. And all it comes down to is how good is that going to be in the meta? Because the meta is very gorilla. Can Axel handle that? Can Axel keep them out? Right now, it seems like he's pretty good at it. Is that going to get worse, or is that going to get better as people get more used to him? That is the big question, and that's what's hard to nail down about him. I couldn't justify putting him outside of A tier, but I could justify pushing him down to the last spot in A tier for me.
Okay, so so can he be below Leo and below Zato?
For me, yes, he could be.
Yeah, I could
All right.
agree with that as well.
Cool. Well, guys, I think we've made a pretty sexy week 3 tier list for Guilty Gear Strive.
Mm-hmm.
I'm happy with it. And we can hear just how happy the community is with it when they go and they like, comment, subscribe, ring the bell, all that good stuff on this YouTube video for the algorithm gods.
Yeah.
And and again, it's very early. People are still very much figuring this out. But hey, hot takes are a lot of fun, and this kind of gives people also an idea of like what kind of time they want to have with this game. You know,
Yeah.
if they want to just get in and do some guerrilla warfare at its finest, maybe go for Leo. If you are down to put in a whole bunch of hours and really figure some technical stuff out, but potentially hit a really high ceiling, maybe Zato is more your pace. And if you want to just throw dolphins at people, it's all about May, right?
Sure. I also want to highlight a big reason why Chip is as high as he is for me. Kazunoko picked him.
Oh, well, that's never a bad sign. He's got a pretty good radar.
Yep.
All right, guys. Well, that's about all the time we have. I want to say thank you very much to both of you. We'll put your Twitters and such so people can follow you for just slightly below expert level Guilty Gear Strive insight from time to time, things along those lines. Thank you guys very much.
Thanks so much for having us. Play Grounded.
Thank you.